We just had to not like each other for a bit.
You had to not like me, which
True.
came easy.
So easy.
People hated The Last of Us Part 2. It was massively divisive.
The Last of Us was plagued by complaints of bad casting, and The Last of Us 2 is not faring much better.
The creator of the show is finally speaking out about its failure. The Last of Us creator Craig Mazin admits Season 2 was a failure.
It started with silence. No public announcement, no thank you, not even a text. Bella Ramsey, the heart and soul of HBO's The Last of Us, was allegedly cut from the franchise without warning. And when the one person she trusted most, Pedro Pascal, said nothing. It wasn't just a career-ending twist. It was personal. Let's break it down. When The Last of Us dropped on HBO, it wasn't just a show, it was a cultural moment. Adapted from a game that defined an era, expectations were dangerously high. And as soon as Bella Ramsey was cast as Ellie, controversy erupted. She didn't look like the video game character. She didn't fit the mold fans had in their heads. Within hours, social media was flooded with criticism, think pieces, and hot takes. But here's the twist. Bella didn't just survive the backlash. She owned it. From the first scene, she brought something electric to the role. Ellie's rage, her humor, her heartbreak. It was all there. Slowly, she converted skeptics into believers. Yet the shadow of The Last of Us Part 2 lingered. That game had nearly torn the fan base apart, and everyone was wondering, would the show follow the same path? As Season 1 exploded in popularity, pressure mounted. Rumors of Season 2 were already swirling, and talk of Part 3 was on everyone's mind. But behind the cameras, a quiet storm was already brewing, one that would change everything Bella thought she knew about her role, her career, and the people she trusted most. Coming up, the shocking decision HBO made behind closed doors, and how Bella found out the worst way possible. No press release, no tweet, not even a whisper from the official channels. Just like that, rumors hit the internet. The Last of Us. Part 3 had been axed, not paused, not reimagined, fully canceled. The fandom was stunned. Everyone had been waiting for a Season 3 announcement, but what they got instead was eerie silence. And in the middle of it all, Bella Ramsey, the actress who gave everything to bring Ellie to life, was reportedly blindsided. She wasn't given a heads up, no meeting, no call, no thank you. According to insiders, she found out the same way fans did, through leaks, rumors, and awkward silences from people who used to text her daily. For an actor who had become the emotional anchor of the series, this was a brutal blow. What's worse, it didn't feel like a delay, it felt personal. The franchise that once embraced her now seemed to be erasing her. And just like that, the story Bella helped define was vanishing without warning. But Bella wasn't going to stay quiet. Not this time. Something had clearly happened behind the scenes, and fans could sense it. Her sudden absence from HBO promo cycles, the silence on her socials. It was too loud to ignore. Bella wasn't just cut off, she was ghosted. And the way it happened still has fans furious. One day she was Ellie. The next, it was like she never existed. After the whispers of cancellation, fans noticed something strange. Bella Ramsey had disappeared. No press appearances, no interviews. Her name was missing from panels, promo lists, even social posts from HBO itself. And through it all, no one said a word. Not publicly, not privately. Bella was reportedly never given a formal goodbye, no wrap dinner, no send-off. She just vanished from the narrative. People close to her say she found out the truth not from a producer or an agent, but from a friend who worked on the show. That's how low the respect had fallen. One source described it as professional ghosting, the kind that leaves you wondering if it all even happened. And fans weren't blind to it. They began to dig, scrolling through her social media, watching interviews, and finding signs that something was off long before the news broke. The smile didn't reach her eyes. Her tone was different. And the silence? It was deafening. But the real heartbreak wasn't the cancellation itself, it was the betrayal. Because when things got ugly, Bella expected someone to have her back. And the one person she hoped would speak up? he stayed completely silent. Pedro Pascal, Ellie's protector on screen, vanished from Bella's life in real time. To fans, Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey were inseparable. Their chemistry wasn't just acting, it felt real. In interviews, they laughed like family. Bella once called Pedro a second father. So when the fallout hit, everyone expected him to say something, anything. But according to people close to Bella, Pedro didn't reach out at all. Not a call, not a message, nothing. And behind the scenes, Bella wasn't just hurt, she was furious. She reportedly messaged Pedro directly, asking why he hadn't defended her or spoken up about the show's sudden silence. But the only response she got was more silence. And that silence said everything. Insiders now claim that Pedro had known about the cancellation far earlier than the rest of the cast. He'd already been in talks for new blockbuster roles, and he'd quietly started checking out long before Bella knew what was happening. While she was still all in, still fighting for Ellie, Pedro may have been preparing his exit. For Bella, it wasn't just about losing a co-star. It was about losing someone she thought was family. And the betrayal cut deep. The drama explodes behind closed doors, and fans start noticing Bella's quiet rebellion online. The real drama wasn't on screen. It was in the group chats, boardrooms, and silent phone screens. Bella, reportedly blindsided and heartbroken, confronted Pedro Pascal through private messages. The details are still murky, but insiders claim she accused him of choosing HBO over her, of protecting his career instead of their bond. Pedro never responded. Not directly, not publicly. And that silence? It hit harder than any fan theory ever could. Meanwhile, the whispers got louder. Pedro had allegedly signed on for a major Marvel or Disney project, knowing full well that The Last of Us Season 3 was likely dead. If that's true, then while Bella was still fighting to keep Ellie alive, Pedro had already moved on. It wasn't just a professional rift, it was a personal wound. For Bella, this wasn't just a show, it was her legacy. And suddenly, the person she trusted most wasn't in her corner anymore. That betrayal set something off, something that fans started picking up on. One deleted post at a time. Bella doesn't scream, she doesn't rage. She just quietly erases everything and lets one photo speak volumes. Bella Ramsey didn't go on a rant. She didn't spill the tea in an interview. She didn't post a long, emotional caption begging fans to understand. Instead, she did something that hit way harder. She went quiet. Her social media started changing, piece by piece. Mentions of The Last of Us disappeared. Photos from press tours, behind-the-scenes memories, even fan reposts, gone. She unfollowed key producers. She unfollowed HBO accounts. The account that had once been filled with Ellie-themed content was suddenly empty of all traces. And then came the photo. Just one black and white snapshot. Bella, standing in a doorway, face down, the soft glow of a studio light behind her. No emojis, no dramatic flair. Just 5 words. Loyalty is louder than silence. That was it. But it was all fans needed. Within hours, the internet lit up. Was she calling out HBO? Pedro Pascal? Both? Reddit threads broke it down frame by frame. TikTok creators made emotional edits of Bella's best Ellie moments. That one post hit harder than any official statement ever could. It was quiet, subtle, but devastating. Fans knew instantly. This wasn't a goodbye. It was a warning shot. Fans didn't just notice, they mobilized. The caption was only 5 words, but it lit a match. Within 24 hours, #JusticeForBella was trending on Twitter. TikTok was flooded with edits. Ellie's most emotional scenes, Bella's best interviews, slow zoom-ins on that haunting black and white photo. Fans weren't just sad, they were furious. This wasn't a normal cancellation. This felt like betrayal. Fan petitions popped up demanding HBO bring Bella back, or at least give an explanation. Reddit exploded with speculation and receipts. Everything from deleted tweets to podcast hints. Some fans swore they'd boycott the franchise. Others created digital tributes that brought people to tears. What united them all was one thing: the feeling that Bella had been done dirty. This wasn't just about an actor losing a role. It was about a performer who had poured her soul into a character, only to be pushed out without respect, without closure, without a single word. And through it all, HBO remained silent. No comment, no denial, not even a vague PR statement. That silence didn't calm fans. It confirmed their worst fears. Something ugly had happened behind the scenes, and Bella had been left to face it alone. But why would HBO throw away its breakout star? The answer might lie in a much deeper creative clash. Behind the scenes, Bella Ramsey wasn't just a performer. She was reportedly a fighter. From early on, she had strong ideas about where Ellie's journey should go. In meetings, she pushed for depth, for darker, more emotionally honest storylines that explored trauma, grief, and consequences. She didn't want an action-packed spectacle. She wanted something raw. And that's where things reportedly started to break down. HBO had other plans. Executives allegedly wanted something broader, more appealing to mass markets. They wanted a cleaner arc, easier to sell, easier to merchandise. Bella's vision was too intense, too niche, too real. She wanted to challenge people. HBO wanted to comfort them. The creative standoff grew tense. Sources say producers started labeling Bella as difficult, not for being rude, but for refusing to water down the story. She wouldn't bend, and HBO didn't like that. To the network, she was talented, but inconvenient. Easier talent was out there. Marketable faces, ready to follow the script, not question it. And so, piece by piece, the walls began closing in. Not because Bella did something wrong, but because she cared too much. And while Bella fought for the story, Pedro may have already made up his mind and walked away. To Bella, Ellie wasn't just a role. She was a responsibility. But to HBO, it was a business. And businesses don't always reward passion. As pressure from international investors and brand partners grew, the network began rethinking its priorities. They wanted clean arcs, easier narratives, bigger merchandise rollouts. Ellie's trauma-heavy journey? Too messy, too dark, too divisive. Bella's refusal to compromise became a problem. According to insiders, producers started floating the idea of new directions and fresh faces. Not openly, but enough to make people uneasy. Bella was young, passionate, and fiercely opinionated. Everything executives love on paper, but struggle with in real life. And when that passion collided with the cold reality of corporate TV, it was Bella who got squeezed out. HBO didn't want a battle over storytelling. They wanted someone who would follow the plan. Simple, predictable, profitable. In the end, it wasn't about talent. It was about control. Meanwhile, Pedro Pascal wasn't fighting. He was already stepping into another universe entirely. While Bella Ramsey was holding the line, Pedro Pascal was already halfway out the door. Insiders say he'd been in secret talks with Marvel or Disney for months, possibly even before The Last of Us Season 2 began filming. By the time the rumors about the cancellation started, Pedro was already planning his next big franchise. And Bella? She had no idea. One source claimed she found out the truth during a rap dinner, that Pedro had known everything and hadn't said a word. According to someone close to the production, you could see the light go out in her eyes. For Bella, this wasn't just career fallout. It was personal. She thought they were in it together, that he would fight beside her. But Pedro? He chose silence. Maybe to protect his image. Maybe to avoid conflict. Either way, it was a silence that hurt more than any rumor. Bella wasn't just losing a show, she was losing someone she once saw as family. Bella's final farewell wouldn't come from a stage or a red carpet, but from a heartbreaking TikTok that said everything without saying a word. There was no press conference, no headline-grabbing interview. Bella Ramsey said goodbye the only way she knew how, through emotion, subtlety, and a quiet kind of heartbreak. She posted a TikTok. It lasted under 30 seconds, but it felt like the closing scene of a show that never got its ending. It began with soft, grainy behind-the-scenes footage, laughing between takes, Pedro and Bella side by side in costume, a close-up of Ellie's iconic jacket. No voice. just music. A piano version of Take On Me, the haunting song tied to Ellie and Dina's moment of peace in the game. Then came the final frame. Bella, alone, walking away from the set. No makeup, no spotlight, just a blurry silhouette fading into the background. The text on screen? You'll always be my Ellie, even if they took you away. Within hours, the video had over 3 million views, and then it was gone. Deleted. Just like that. But the damage was already done. Fans flooded the comments with crying emojis, angry hashtags, and heartfelt tributes. For many, it was all the proof they needed. This wasn't a rumor anymore. Bella wasn't coming back, and she wasn't just saying goodbye to a role. She was saying goodbye to a chapter of her life that shaped her, tested her, and may have left a scar that'll never fully heal. But it wasn't just the show that ended. A darker rumor was about to emerge, this time from the game studio itself. As fans clung to hope that maybe the game version of Ellie would live on, a new wave of rumors crashed in, and this time it was from inside Naughty Dog. According to anonymous developers and industry insiders, The Last of Us Part 3, the game, was no longer in active development. Not delayed. Not shelved. Just quietly left behind. Neil Druckmann, the creative force behind the franchise's emotional core, had allegedly moved on. Burnout, pressure from Sony, and internal studio changes pushed him to focus on new IPs. And without him at the wheel, Ellie's future became uncertain. Sources say Sony wanted something fresh, new franchises, more marketable titles. The gritty, complex emotional weight of The Last of Us didn't fit the new vision. The game that made millions cry, that won countless awards, that redefined storytelling in gaming, it was now just a line item in a boardroom slideshow. And with the show gone, Bella gone, and Druckmann gone, Ellie's entire legacy was now hanging by a thread. The fans were devastated. But for some, a deeper question started to rise. Was this always the plan? To quietly shut the door and walk away? No ending, no respect, just a whisper of what could have been. If so, it wasn't just a franchise that ended. It was a brutal reminder of how this industry treats the very stories it claims to love. In the world of The Last of Us, it wasn't the infected that made the world feel broken. It was the people, the betrayals, the choices. And in a strange, twisted way, life imitated art. Ellie's story didn't end with a heroic sacrifice or a tearful goodbye. It ended with silence. A silence shaped by executive decisions, market strategies, and private emails no fan will ever read. There was no final scene, no closure, just absence. And maybe that's the most devastating part. Bella Ramsey gave everything to that role. She didn't just play Ellie, she carried her. She gave the character a soul, a face, a voice. But instead of a farewell, she was left with rumors, leaks, and a caption that hit harder than any scene she ever filmed. Loyalty is louder than silence. The industry didn't take Ellie away with a dramatic final battle. It did something colder. It erased her. Quietly, efficiently, like she was never there. And that's the real heartbreak. Because in this new era of franchises and streaming wars, it's not the story that wins, it's the branding. And maybe, just maybe, that's the real apocalypse. Not the fall of civilization, but the slow, calculated burial of the stories that once meant something.